So at this time, I'm going to call the Monday, December 10th, 2018 school board meeting to order. And Mr. Foster, could you lead us in the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. And at this time, I'd like to read our opening statement, and we'd like to welcome you to our board meeting and thank you for attending and supporting the work of the Anchorage School District and this board. The board thanks students, parents, and teachers, staff, school business partners, and the entire community for your investment in our district with your time, your talent, and your tax dollars. If you are unable to be physically present for the entire meeting, you may choose to tune in to the Municipality of Anchorage's Channel 9 or YouTube to watch the live stream. Recordings of these meetings are available through the agenda and board docs. So at this time, I'd like to approve the agenda. Is there any dissension on that? Okay, agenda approved. And Dr. Bishop, I'd like to turn this over to you for our recognition of our Fall 2018 Denali Award winners.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm pleased to announce our award ceremony, and I regret that some awardees could not make it, and we're so impressed with those awardees who tirelessly work all weekend to prepare schools and offices for today that also showed up to be celebrated this evening. The next item on the agenda is ASD Memorandum number 080, recognition of Fall 2018 Denali Award winners. School board members, woo! School board members, Elisa Snelling, Mark Foster, Alicia Hildy will read the memos.
Would Stacy Cox, Roger Baker, Wendy Pryor, Susan Ortiz, Kelly Holt, Kim Vieira, Dimitri Korboff, and John Oliver please come forward? To Alaskans, Denali means great one, and the Anchorage School District is proud to have employees that display greatness in the areas of achievement, service, and dedication. This is the highest award offered by the district. Twice each year, supervisors submit nominations, and a panel of ASD employees selects a number of coworkers and teams of colleagues that demonstrate outstanding commitment to the district's mission of educating all students for success in life. 4 winners have been selected for the Fall 2018 award cycle. Stacy Cox. Adored by her peers and students alike, Romig Middle School and West High School librarian Stacy Cox's commitment extends beyond the classroom and the school day. She is described by her principal as passionate and dedicated to student success and lifelong achievement. Ms. Cox serves over 2,500 students between the 2 schools with diverse needs, from students in Spanish and Russian immersion programs to West High students in the International Baccalaureate program. In the fall, Ms. Cox collaborates with the teachers at both schools to design lessons to prepare students for navigating our complex world, said her principal. Ms. Cox takes her duty to prepare students for the real world very seriously. In addition to her daily tasks in the library, Ms. Cox works behind the scenes training student aides and teachers to use equipment and seeks out additional funding for student resources. She designed and aligned West's and Romig's websites and was recently recognized for her work on West's homepage. She also works on the Base Camp Committee's Google Drive, keeping the calendar, schedule, and lessons updated in order to ease the load of teachers with homeroom lesson planning and prep. It is my honor to nominate Ms. Stacy Cox for the Denali Award, which celebrates everything Ms. Cox emulates, including outstanding achievement, service, and dedication, and ensuring every student has the opportunity to achieve his or her potential, said her principal. Wendy Pryor. Well known for her smile and her attention to detail when working, Wendy Pryor, building plant operator at the Education Center, has been nominated for her strong work ethic and devotion to her responsibilities. Her day begins at 6:15 a.m. when she opens the Ed Center for over 200 employees who work in the building. Her supervisor notes that Wendy has never been late during the 2 years she has worked at the Ed Center. Prior to her work at the Ed Center, Wendy has been a BPO in various schools since 2001. Wendy's work enables the district to achieve a positive first impression when community members arrive to the building. I have seen Wendy Pryor hard at work. The inside and outside of the building always looks so nice as a result of her attention to detail, says an ASD employee. I've seen her picking up trash in the parking lot, cleaning the glass windows and doors, cleaning stair handrails and door handles to help limit the spread of germs. Wendy makes the building an inviting place to be and work. Wendy recently was thanked publicly with a Koyana, an Alaskan thank you, for her service to the Ed Center and how her outstanding work is always complimented with a smile. Wendy has a gracious and kind spirit that makes her a joy to work with. She is cheery and pleasant on a daily basis with a warm, inviting demeanor. Beyond her responsibilities of cleaning and building upkeep, Wendy supports the many employees in the building with recycling, minor repairs, assisting with office and desk moves, and more. She is also accountable for the setup requirements for the use of the Ed Center boardrooms and atrium, ensuring the areas are set up to accommodate the needs of many users of each space. Thank you, Wendy.
The behind-the-scenes team of two systems analysts, Kim Vieira and Dmitry Korobov, and teacher expert John Oliver in the Special Education Department are recognized for their seamless collaboration as a team to support ASD staff members. Each member of this team has been labeled by their supervisors as exceptional professionals and integral to the district with their technical support knowledge and their high level of customer service to the special ed department. John Oliver single-handedly manages the Special Education Help Desk, providing timely and effective customer service support to almost 600 certified special education staff, plus administrators and other staff as needed. Dmitry and Kim provide equally dedicated services behind the scenes. They are instrumental in providing technical support to the Special Education Department, not only having developed and supported the foundation program of Power School, but also supporting the many additions, tweaks, and adjustments within the program that have been requested by special education. The Senior Director of Special Education regards them as, quote, great problem solvers. They have been able to come up with solutions in our use of Power School that even the company hadn't implemented. The Special Ed Tech team has been extremely effective with their efforts to expand the possibilities for the Special Ed Department and others like Gifted, Migrant Ed, and AEL. In Power School, they have created reports and other system enhancements that improve reporting, accountability, and operational efficiency. Thank you, Kim, Dmitry, and John.
Respected and admired by their peers and their students, Fire Lake Elementary resource teacher Susan Ortiz and teacher's aide Kelly Holt are known for their devotion and compassion for students. Both women are described by their principal as two individuals who are a true team, working together seamlessly, providing support behind the scenes to teachers and moving between classrooms, checking on their students and building strong, positive relationships. Outside of their normal duties as the special education teacher and TA for the intermediate students at Fire Lake, Susan and Kelly can be found in their room during lunchtime, so they are easily accessible for students that struggle during lunch and recess. Their open door policy has accredited them as genuine in their compassion for their students' needs and allows them to be more flexible when brainstorming new ways to help each child be more successful. Not only are they incredibly supportive and encouraging to their students, but they have proven they are invaluable to each staff member who has been able to work with them. I wish that everyone could be lucky enough to know Susan and Kelly or have someone like them to lean on in their community, said a fellow teacher. They make our school a better place to be. Another colleague describes Susan and Kelly as master educators, knowing where students are at academically and emotionally. They are professional yet approachable and are highly respected for the impact they have on children. The administration invites the board to join in, oh, that's probably you. Great job, Kelly and Susan. Yeah, let's clap for them first. The administration invites the board to join in recognizing these Denali Award recipients and all of the nominees for the example they set for the entire Anchorage School District community. Thank you.
Sorry.
That was a nice way to start.
Spelling's at a fast pace. Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to have our reports, and our first report is our military report. Colonel? Welcome. Are you on? You know which one?
It'll turn red.
There you go.
Okay, it looks red. There we go. All right. So I have 4 topics I wanted to kind of touch on this evening. The first one is really talking about the earthquake response. That was a pretty big deal. Luckily on the J-Bear side, we were able to recover fairly quickly. A couple days, we were able to get most of our services back online. Our civil engineering group continues to inspect our buildings, make repairs. That's going to be kind of a long process. I know Anchorage School District had a lot of facilities as well that were impacted by that. What we did was we had 2 town hall meetings last week trying to give some information to the community about how to respond to that earthquake, some important information for them. So we want to extend our thanks to ASD for providing us with a representative to come out and brief kind of the current status of the buildings and also answer questions from the community about the schools. So that was Mr. Dan Barker that came out twice and was a great asset for us. So we appreciate that. In addition, we actually had some Army soldiers and Air Force airmen that were able to help out some of the schools. So we had some soldiers from the Army 3,509th Parachute Infantry that were assisting Greening Middle School with their move to Chugiak High School this past Friday. Also, we had some airmen from the 3rd Maintenance Squadron and some soldiers from the U.S. Army Alaska that assisted some of the students and staff at the Begich Middle School during and immediately following the earthquake. Apparently they were there for breakfast, so it turned out really well. They were right there on site to help out, so that was fantastic. So our military members are really proud to support ASD and help out in the community. My second topic is the Leaders in Schools program. We want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in that. So Colonel Caranta, the Mission Support Group Commander, he actually went and visited the Eagle River High School, and I went over and visited the Mountain View Elementary School. We had a good chance to talk with the principals, talk about some of the challenges and issues, and try to come up with ways we, the military on the base, could kind of partner and do some fun things with the schools. So we came up with some ideas of maybe having another base field trip for some of the elementary kids to come back on base, because that was really successful last year. And then also trying to find ways we can bring the high school students onto the base, get them connected with some airmen to really show them how their high school education can prepare them for a job and get them some real life experience with that. The third topic I want to mention is again, the folks coming up from Tyndall Air Force Base. Again, back in October, there was a hurricane that devastated about 1/3 of Tyndall Air Force Base. So some of those F-22 jets are being moved up to J-Bear in the next couple months. So we don't have specific information, but we know we're going to have about 120 military civilians coming up probably in the springtime. So we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but once we know the actual bodies and the families that are going to be coming up, we'll definitely pass that information to you to know how that's going to affect enrollment in the schools. My last topic is talking about Mount Spur. So we also wanted to just say we appreciate the amount of time and effort that all the ASD, the board members, the administration, all that time and effort they've put into the military community to really show that they care, come out to our town hall meetings, and really help us through this process. So we do greatly appreciate that. So those are my 4 topics I want to touch on briefly. So if there's no questions, that's all I have.
Board members, do you have any comments or questions? Well, thank you, sir. I know that I saw some of the, I believe they were the airmen over at one of our schools, and very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. All right, thank you very much.
Our student advisory board representative is not with us this evening, so if we can move on. I know we had a finance committee meeting before this. Ms. Snelling?
We did, our 2 topics that we were able to cover was quick introduction to the pro forma and a discussion on the Budget Authority transfer memo that is coming up, and right now our next meeting is scheduled for January 7th. Although this Friday from 12 to 1, we do have BDO coming to do our CAFR presentation to the Finance Committee.
Okay, great. And Ms. Hildy, do you have a report for us?
We haven't met since the last meeting, and then our next meeting will be on December 19th at 9:30 in the conference room. And we'll be talking, reviewing board policies, working on some committee procedures, possibly discussing employment of relatives, and reviewing board expenditure policies. So everyone is welcome to attend that.
Okay. And there was no communications meeting, so there'll be no report on that. I'd like to read our statement on public testimony on non-action items. And the board welcomes public comments on agenda items, both action and non-action, as well as in general. We value public comment as it both ensures that we remain aware of public thoughts, ideas, and concerns, and informs our decision-making process. We have a table up front and center with 2 seats and microphones available for testimony when I call your name. You have 3 minutes to testify, and you may begin speaking when the timer appears on the screen to your left and begins the countdown. When you have 30 seconds left, the number will turn yellow. When the timer reaches 0, please finish your sentence. In order to provide equity to all that would like to speak, the board asks that there be no clapping after testimony, as it may intimidate others wishing to testify with opposing opinions. Additionally, it is not our policy that board members answer questions or engage in discussion with members of the public. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. The board will consider all information shared by the public, and when deemed necessary, issues raised in testimony will be referred to the administration for follow-up. So at this time, there is a group, and I'm going to call all 5 of you if you'd want to come up to the front here. And this is, they're going to be reading a resolution. And so you guys can just pull some chairs up there if you like, or however you want to do that. And I know that each one of you are reading parts of this resolution, and I am going to waive our timer on this so that you guys can get your resolution completed, and you can begin when you're ready. Well, I have their names here, but yeah.
Okay. So, my name is Jonathan Larson, and I'm a committee member of Cook Inlet Tribal Council's Johnson O'Malley program, and I am a committee member of the Native Education Committee. We have two other parents and 2 other eligible students that want to read a resolution into on the record to the Anchorage School District, and also present a resolution. So it's titled Resolution in Support of Alaska Native. Okay, yeah, that's actually a good idea. I'm sorry, I might follow the directions. So I guess we're going to introduce ourselves so that we can just flow with our resolution. So.
Sure.
Thank you, Didi.
Yalidi shishide shi Demaris Hudson Danina Ishlanshida Nochina Ishlanshi Shigu Shigaya Kalanda Dagatnu Idish Unkta Katna Galuda. Hello, my name is Demaris Hudson. I'm Danina Baskin. I'm from Tyonek, and I am a parent on a board for the Johnson O'Malley Native Education Committee. Thank you.
And you guys can pull some other chairs up there if you like.
Hello, I'm Sandy Bear, and I'm also on the parent committee from Euclid, transplanted here to Anchorage.
Hi, I'm Kayla Larson. I'm Jonathan Larson's daughter. I am a junior at Padea Cooperative School.
Hi, my name is Alexis. I'm the daughter of Demaris Hudson. I'm a student in the ASD.
So the resolution is titled, Resolution in Support of Alaska Native American Indian Students Wearing Regalia During Anchorage School District Graduation Ceremonies.
Whereas the Cook Inlet Tribal Council Johnson O'Malley Education Programs Native Education Committee is parent committee responsible to 8,550 Alaska Native students, or 17.8% of the total student body enrolled in the ASD. And whereas the Johnson O'Malley Education Program offers students activity fees and summer camp scholarships, tutoring, school supplies, athletics, and extracurricular fees, bus passes, tuition for online courses, and needed for high school graduation and other supplementary and culturally appropriate programs and services meeting the unique and specialized education needs of Alaska Native and American Indian students enrolled in the ASD. And
whereas the Johnson O'Malley Education Program offers student activities, whereas within the scope of the NEC to recommend the ASD changes and reforms and development of elementary and secondary school programs and services policies or other efforts to serve Alaska Native and American Indian students. And whereas the NEC and ASD's Title VI Indian Education and Native Advisory Committee provided Alaska Native and American Indian students American Indian graduating students teal cords to wear in the 2017-18 graduation ceremonies. These cords were signified an Alaska Native American Indian graduate and Title VI required through ASD's senior directive of the secondary education that these teal cords to be required or to be added to the list and designated cords to be published in the graduation programs. However, it appears in the high school principals and registers intentionally left them off the list.
Whereas the NEC requests ASD to create a clear policy on dress standards for graduation ceremonies specifically for Alaska Native and American Indian students. Since current administrative practices and ambitious, and whereas the NEC in collaboration with ASD's Indian Education Native Advisory Committee and the Alaska Native and American Indian families and students seek support for the Alaska Native and American Indian students to wear traditional regalia or objects of cultural significance at ASD graduation ceremonies. And
whereas providing the Alaska Native and American Indian students and the community as a whole to accentuate, honor, and celebrate Indigenous culture, heritage, and traditions will recognize the academic success and great accomplishment of completing high school and provide a positive Native role model for younger Alaska Native and American Indian students. And whereas following Alaska Native and American Indian graduating students in ASD to wear regalia or an object is a significance while joining in the colonized rite of passage, high school graduation, and
Therefore be it resolved, the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, Johnson O'Malley.
Yeah, there you go.
Now therefore be it resolved, the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, Johnson O'Malley Education Program, Native Education Committee calls upon the Anchorage School District to write a policy and administrative practice for graduation attire allowing Alaska Native and American Indian students to wear traditional tribal regalia or objects of cultural significance, including the designation of a teal cord in all graduation programs. Be it further resolved, the 2018 Alaska Federation of Natives Youth and Elders Participant Committee passed a recommendation to send the resolution in support of wearing Alaska Native and American Indian regalia during graduation ceremonies to the full 2018 AFN convention for consideration, which AFN passed on October 20th. And this is signed by our JOM President, Gregory Nostein.
Thank you so much. And do you have a copy of that for us? Okay. Okay, so at this time, are there any others that would like to testify? Okay, I think we're ready for superintendent. Oh, there is, oh, I'm sorry. And if you could state your name and spell it, please.
Kenneth Huffer, Kennethhuffer. We have a timer.
It'll come up just there.
Okay.
Once it does, you can start.
Oki, Nidaniku, Mistaki Sinapa, Nidok Tu, Amskapi Pikani. Hello, my name is Kenny Huffer. My Indian name is Mount Fox. I got it in 2016 at a ceremony in Montana. I come from the Blackfeet Indian Nation in Montana. I'd like to discuss about us wearing our traditional regalia for graduation. So traditionally, as Native people, we had to earn the rights to wear certain things, like eagle feathers, for example, in my culture. And for us to not be able to represent who we are today is repeating history from back then. And my grandma, Natuaki, Doreen Gray, was never allowed to wear her traditional regalia for graduation, and she was one of the people who got her hair cut, was beaten for her language and stuff like that, and she passed away before I was born, so I never got to meet her. But I wear this stuff in honor of her and in honor of my relatives, and I'd like to continue to wear who I am and represent my people. And one thing that's going around the nation, I just got off the phone with one of our leaders from the Blackfeet Indian Nation, and they've passed he's a legislative down there, his name's George Kipp, and they just passed Senate Bill 319, I believe it was, to allow Native peoples to wear traditional regalia for graduation. And this is happening all over the United States. And so I'd like it to continue happening in Alaska especially, because this is where I was born and raised. And I just want to represent who I am, and hopefully you guys will allow us this year to wear it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to testify? Okay, I think we're ready for superintendent report. Ms. Dr. Bishop.
Thank you, Madam President. I do just have a small update I wanted to just share with the board as well as in the public meeting in regard to the hot topics. And from our ASD web page, you can immediately go to the hot topics section once they, so here's our web page, and as you know, throughout our emergency, the top banner was used to communicate immediately. But if you, the items that have been hot topics before, just to provide information to our community, wanted to demonstrate to the board that when a closure has been brought to something, there's information about that. So you can hover over it, it'll talk about the issues, but they'll always be archived there so that the information can be gained at a future time, even though the issue has been resolved. Items that are not resolved continue to remain up there and updated. This one is about the earthquake. We established it last weekend, and in this section we had opportunities for the updates that went out from our community, pictures as well as media reports, and just created a place, one-stop shop, if you will, for information so that the communication just is ongoing. And we also had in this section where we showed the school status reports, and this came after last Sunday at the request of the board, and this was created. So over time, I wasn't sure if the board was able to take a look at this, but we did move our schools to the left, which had them as mission ready, and really had a terrific day today. And we had over 500 people working throughout the weekend to make today happen, and I just want to say how fortunate we truly are in ASD for the people we have. But with that, I can answer any questions, but if anyone has any questions, the media across the country have been accessing this and getting updates. They're now using the student video that we shared from Matthew Bennis's class at Mears nationally as a training video. They requested that, so it's pretty amazing. So it's great to see that the information is shared. With that, I just do want to share, today looked fabulous at schools. We were ready. It was emotional for many of us to be back, and it really depended on the experience of the quake and where you were at the time and just the process moving through. But Fire Lake and in Eagle River was the last school to be released, of elementary anyway, because we still have King Tech that's not. Quite yet, but the classrooms were just amazing. Teachers from receiving schools, as well as parents, community members, just really rallied around our teachers and students. This was a welcome. The first day, if you can go back, that welcome back was at Birchwood. I was there this morning, and I think I saw that hug. It was a great thing, just very exciting. Some kids for the first time are riding the bus, so that was probably bigger than going into a new classroom, was riding the bus. So we actually had teachers ride buses with students. About 15,000 of our students were actually on a bus at the time, our elementary students. So about 8:30, we had we have about 24,000 elementary. A good portion of those, 2/3 of those students, or 3/5, were on the bus at the time of the earthquake. So for staff to really be where students were and answer their questions first things, because where they experienced the quake was in the bus. We had Gladys Woods teachers go. We had pancake parties right next door at Highland Academy. We had hot cocoa party at Polaris. We have service dogs for comfort in our schools that were a real treat today and will remain the rest of the week as needed. We just saw greatness in people through and through, and it wasn't an easy task. It was difficult. We asked a lot of our staff, and I just want everyone to know that they are truly amazing. Eagle River at Homestead Elementary, this was a classroom that I entered today, and I gave them pencils, and the student said he didn't think I gave them enough, and so I asked him to audit me, and that class counted, and I actually did miss one. He was correct, so we were happy that he knows his math. And this was, interestingly enough, Birchwood Elementary. This is a Birchwood class that talked about their experiences, but they also talked about how important it was to receive other students in their school and play with them on the playground, and talk to them in the hallway, and if they don't know someone, they should introduce themselves and meet them. So they're really trying their best and having these circle groups to talk about how is it that we meet other kids and how do we become good hosts and hostesses at school. So this is really a true lesson. If we experience this through children, they were excited today. They were really happy to see each other. We did have, I know member Marcette shared, we had a little tears at a school, and then once at Homestead, and it was a new school, a student that didn't speak English, but once she was taken to her classroom and then saw all the people that she already knew and her teacher, the tears went away and the smiles showed up. So I was really happy that we could reunite students with their teachers, even at new sites. And then Bartlett, just, again, the music started playing. It was a good day there as well. And just educating all students for success in life. We really turned around something that was tragic in our community and in our state. And the good people of Anchorage and our surrounding communities came together to rally around teachers, rally around students. And today was a really good day. So I thank the board for your support. And every day we'll find new challenges because we learn every day of the things we didn't think about, but we will continue to support where the support is needed to have a great year for all, because there are some sacrifices being made. So I want to let you know we'll continue to do our best to support where the Gemba is, and that is a Japanese term for where the value's added or where the front lines are, and that's certainly in our classrooms. Thank you. That was the shortest superintendent report I've ever given.
Well, and I just want to add to that because I did go out to Homestead and Fire Lake on Saturday to see how they were doing. And there were a lot of concerns and fears, but I have to tell you this morning I went back out to those schools at Fire Lake and Homestead, and the amount of support that was there for those schools, I was just blown away. And I think the teachers were blown away and the staff at the schools were blown away. It truly showed that this district does support our teachers and it does support our schools. And I think it meant a lot in the response that you guys provided to them and relieved a lot of the fears that they were feeling. And of course, there's a lot of emotion involved, and everyone I talked to today was I talked to parents out in the parking lot as I was walking in, and they were just thrilled with the response. They couldn't say enough good things about the district. I did hear from a couple of teachers that said, we were concerned, but when we saw all the support today, we were just overwhelmed and thankful. So I do want to pass that on, and there'll be things we need to work out, and we'll do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. May I add one thing, something that just happened at Birchwood, which was pretty clever. Birchwood are the Colts, and Eagle River are the Eagles, and now Birchwood, Eagle River are Pegasus. And so they are a flying horse, and they had a lesson on that today from Greek mythology, and it was just very clever, and they're making, having a design contest, having shirts made, and really becoming the Pegasus for the rest of this year. And so that was a joy, and kids had a lesson on the Pegasus.
I didn't see that sign that was over at Fire Lake. Did we show that? The sign that they made welcoming the students?
Yeah.
Oh, was it in there? Oh, okay, great. Thank you, because that was pretty special. All right, Ms. Snelling, if I could have you, you're going to fill in for Ms. Bishop for us. Thank you.
For Ms. Mitchell.
Mitchell, sorry. It's been a long day.
I move to approve the consent agenda, ASD memorandum number 078, personnel report, and the October 8th, 2018 work session and executive session minutes.
Second.
Okay, would board members please vote? And that motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 not present. And I did fail to mention that Dina Mitchell is traveling and is not with us this evening.
Did you read something on the testimony?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So on public testimony on action items, the procedures for testimony as follows. An action item memo is first introduced by the Vice President, and if seconded by another board member, I will open the floor for public testimony. If you have signed up in advance or indicate you are interested in providing testimony, I will call you to come to the front table to speak. You have 3 minutes to talk, and you will see a timer on the screen to your left to monitor the time remaining and inform you of when you need to conclude. After all testimony closes, I will open the floor for board discussion, followed by the student board representative vote, before finally calling for the official vote. The voting results will be displayed on the screen. Now, Ms. Snell.
I move to approve ASD memorandum 075 and authorize the award of a contract for the purchase of 8 Type C school buses to RWC International Limited. The award to RWC International Limited is recommended in the total contract amount of $871,480.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on this action item? Hearing none, I open it up for board discussion. Is there any board discussion? I have a question. I went to a community council meeting in the university area, and are these buses we're purchasing, are they diesel? Okay. Okay.
To the President, yes, these buses are diesel powered.
Okay. And I know they're more energy efficient. Have we done an air quality study? I mean, do we know how they affect the environment with the diesel fumes. And I'm asking this because I need to report back.
Just to very briefly address this, the specific answer to your question, we have not tested these buses. What I would tell you though, with the recent diesel technology, for those who have like a diesel truck, you know that new vehicles, they come equipped with a system that burns fuel as it's passing through the exhaust system. You have to add an additive diesel emission fluid. So what that does is it combusts the diesel exhaust as it passes through the exhaust system, burning that particulate matter. So these buses come with this DEF system, so it significantly reduces the amount of emissions that come out of the buses. What that percentage is, I don't know, but I think it is like a very significant. Chuck Moore could probably quote it from the tip of his tongue, but I think it's about a 90% reduction in the particulate matter that these buses emit.
Do we still have old buses running on the old diesel system?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other board comments or questions? All right, if the board would vote, please. And that motion carries with 6 yeas and 1 not present to vote.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 084, revisions to the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget and authorize a reallocation of spending authority within the Municipal Assembly approved upper limit of $785,776,778.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on this action item? Hearing no public testimony, is there any board discussion? Ms. Snelling?
I would like to make an amendment to this motion.
Okay.
I move to increase the total upper limit spending authority to $811,549,407 with $4,227,371 being reallocated from the capital projects fund to the general fund, and an additional $25,772,629 in new authority being added to the general fund for a total of $30 million in new general fund spending authority. Revenue increases will be applied to insurance proceeds and disaster assistance, and corresponding expenditure increases will be applied to salaries, contract, supplies, and equipment related to earthquake recovery.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? Ms. Belding?
Just given the nature of the amendment, if we could have some explanation on the reason why before we vote on it, or some discussion on, maybe from the administration on the benefit of doing this.
Okay. If I could have administration.
Thank you, Madam President. This was briefed earlier in the Finance Committee, and so our CFO, Jim Anderson, can you update us, please, for public record?
Certainly. In the 10.5 days since the earthquake occurred, we've engaged with multiple contractors, nearly every maintenance personnel out at the buildings. And really there was multiple phases to the recovery operation. The first phase was assessment, identification of those life health safety items that needed to be in place in order to open schools this morning, which, as everyone saw, was more than just successful across the board. As part of that, we still have 3 general contractors with hundreds of personnel continuing to work on our buildings, and much of this that needs to be done during Christmas break is still a rough order of magnitude. We're still waiting on supplies to come in, actual labor costs. So our projected spend from Friday morning, about 10:30 when the first assessment started, through the Christmas break is just about $20 million right now. That does not include the long-term recovery efforts that will continue requiring design, structural engineering assistance. And so we expect our first rough order of magnitude without knowing final decisions on Eagle River Elementary, Greening Middle School, and other potential problems that might pop out during aftershocks is somewhere between $25 and $55 million, rough order of magnitude. As we get more fidelity on what it would cost for multiple courses of action for greening Eagle River Elementary, and some other currently unknown problems that might pop up over the next 60 days, we'll address that and develop those plans. At this point, though, we don't anticipate being able to spend more than $30 million between now and the end of June, because any major construction would occur after the school year's over. So even if FEMA does give us money and we get money from insurance, we currently don't have the spending authority to be able to spend the money. So we're asking for an upper limit increase to give us the flexibility to operate within the contracts, current and future, in order to continue making progress through the end of this fiscal year.
And just for the public too, because I know it can be confusing because it is coming out of the general fund, but it is our reserve fund. Could you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. We do have a reserve fund. It's basically our emergency savings account. And it's equal to about 10% of the prior year's expenditures. A little bit less than $60 million. So each percent is about $6 million. The municipality requires us to keep $24.92 million in reserve, which is part of that 10%, a little over 4%, in reserve in order to keep and maintain a AAA bond rating. So when we do bond sales, we get the best possible rates that we could get. The remainder of that has, for many years, been maintained for emergencies. Not too far in the distant past, we had a school catch fire. Fund balance was used to initiate the rebuild of that school, and of course the design phase while awaiting potential bonds that would get passed by voters. So fund balance always has, currently is, and always will be planned as the primary purpose for emergencies. And I think it goes without saying this would be one of those.
Thank you, I appreciate that. At this time, as there's no other comments from the board, I'd ask the board to vote on the amendment.
I forgot to put amendment in there. Just a moment.
And that motion carries or passes with 6 yeas and 1 not present. So now at this time, we'll address the original motion with the amendment. And is there any board discussion on that? Okay, then I would ask, are you ready?
Just to confirm what the upper limit that would be in the main motion would be? 811?
Yes. Correct, Ms. Snelling, you, right.
811.
811, 549, 407.
Okay. 7.
Okay, board members would vote, please. And that motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 not present.
move to approve ASD Memorandum 088 and approve the following bond proposal. Proposition 1, district-wide building life extension, safety and security projects, including roofs replacements and improvements, mechanical seismic safety, entryway security, and code upgrades and planning and design, in the amount of $55.113 million.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on this action item? Hearing none, is there any board discussion? Mr. Foster.
I'd like to move the addition of 4 million to the total with the intent of making a total of approximately 10 million available for the Eagle River Schools repair and renewal.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Give us just a minute to capture that. And Mr. Foster, for clarification, is that Eagle River Elementary School or all Eagle River schools?
All Eagle River schools. All Eagle River schools.
Just on record. Did you see that one? Just go ahead and total for all of the schools repair and renewal. The total amount would be some of those. They didn't leak any water, but some of them oh, two, the total of 50. Okay, thanks.
Okay, sure.
And did someone second?
Yes.
Andy did? Okay. No, but you can say, you just say it at our work session. Tom, because Tom read the kid, right? So far, so okay. What do you Mark, is that what you want?
So if board members would read the proposed amendment and if there's any discussion. Ms. Snelling.
So I guess my question, just to, have clarification on the record is, so we've already passed a bond, memo already to the assembly. If this passes at the board level, what does this do? Just a real quick run on how this works.
So we have Mr. Roth and Mr. Kalis join us.
So the first comment in to be sure I'm sympathetic with the intent. There are two things that it's a bit concerning by modifying. The first is that by raising the upper limit, it would obligate us to resend the proposal to bond counsel. And to get it returned from bond counsel with whatever that language would be. And I don't know what modifications would come from that. We would be back into a situation of submitting to the county or the city clerk to get into the assembly for a first read and then to a vote. And right now the way the rules read, they have to approve it by the second meeting in January for it to make the April ballot. And I'm not aware of any other I'm not aware of options that the municipality or the assembly would have to modify that. I mean, I don't know that they can't. I just don't know that they can. The other concern is I'm understanding, the bond language. It needs to be specific to a school. So if it's to Eagle River schools in general, I don't know that language would be acceptable.
But the reallocation language you cited earlier at the work session is. That seems to be contradictory on its face, I'm sorry.
The bond council language gives the district latitude. That's the difference. But the projects in the bond are specific to schools with specific projects. So, you got something you wanted to add, George?
Yeah, so the bottom line is the way the bond council worded it was based on X number of schools and based on a dollar amount associated with each one of those schools. Some of the schools that you're mentioning were not on the original bond language. So as a minimum, they would have to be added. Whether you could you mention all 4 of those schools or 3 of the schools, whatever's not already mentioned, and then put a total dollar amount associated with that? Yes, but the issue is that it would still have to go back to bond council. Okay, so and that's the reason.
Could you explain the council's added verbiage to this that gives us some leeway?
Through the president, absolutely. So the language, and I can read it.
That's fine.
So, quote, this from bond council, quote, notwithstanding the foregoing, that the school district is evaluating the impact of the recent earthquake. As a result of structural assessments following the earthquake, structural repairs necessary in order to meet life, health, and safety concerns will take precedence over the projects. And if the school district shall determine that it has become impractical to accomplish any portion of the approved projects by reason of changed conditions or needs, including the impact of earthquake damage, incompatible development or costs substantially in excess of those estimated, the school district shall not be required to accomplish such portions and shall apply bond proceeds as set forth in this section. So it's a very permissive language that would allow the district to direct monies to where the district determined the most need.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the public was privy to that. I know we discussed in our work session, but I wanted to get it on the board. Yes.
If I may, with the permission of the second, I would take out the word all in the language that's presented up on the amendment number 1.
And just put Eagle River Elementary? Or
No, Eagle River schools without stating all.
Okay. While she's typing that, is there any other further discussion? Okay. Is that correct? Mark? Ms. Hilding?
I would just say that my preference would be to wait until we have a better understanding of the costs and needs of the schools throughout our district before we work to include the language in a bond proposal. So I don't plan to support the amendment.
Mr. Holloman?
I'm in support of the proposal, and I think the public will be understanding of it. The fact that we do have to send it back to be looked at again is concerning, but I think our ability to try to move reasonably quickly on what may be some of the smaller projects, obviously this is not comprehensive, it's not meant in any way to cover everything that's going to happen, but we will spend some millions of dollars, I think, fixing some small things right, and being able to act on that quickly seems valuable to me, but I do support the amendment.
Any other comments? Okay, would board members please vote? So that motion is a tie. It fails. Okay. Now, I don't believe we need to vote on the other because that's just, yeah, it's done. So that'll move forward, the bond as it is with the comments from the council will be move forward. So the next item is our non-action items. It looks like there's one item on there. Does anybody want to pull that item? Okay. Any new business? Any public testimony on non-agenda or non-action items? School board and administration comments or communications?
Madam President and Board, I just want to thank you again for your leadership as well as our team and all the people of ASD. To pull today off was really a great experience for me, one that you never wish you had, but certainly just a terrific day today, so thank you.
Mr. Holloman.
It has been quite the eventful week, and of course the news that the AEA TA passed in voting was encouraging to hear. The idea of having 3 years or at least 2 years in front of us where we don't even have to think about bargaining is pretty huge. I do want to say the only public meeting I've got to go to was a HALA meeting Friday night, and the atmosphere from folks there about the district was just distinctly different than any other time, and I think this falls to all the staff, but particularly our administrative staff. People in the public, I think, recognize the tremendous amount of planning, the tremendous amount of work that got done in a week to get our kids back in. I think they really appreciate it. I really can't imagine in my 4 years as AEA president, I never got to all the buildings because just getting to all the school buildings in the Anchorage School District is a rather daunting task to do, and to examine them all, to make the repairs where they had to be. The logistics are incredible, and then making sure the actual work got done and everything. I think has just been a huge plus in terms of what people think of the district and think of our staff, and I really can't thank you enough.
Any other comments? Well, all I can say is you, our staff, teachers, custodial workers, maintenance, everyone is what makes ASD great. Thank you. And we are adjourned.
Keep me on my toes. Okay. Somebody came together. That's why I didn't know what to do it. I'm like, I'll show you what it looks like. I just take the recommended actions. Oh, okay. I could read a piece of paper. I knew you could do it. I was like, where is that? Good deal. And he's the guy that can carry it all. Yep. Thank you guys. Bye. Go upstairs. So this is what I give to Dina. I had a thing the other day.
Somebody would. Oh.
Cameron leave already? So cool. Oh, I know. I just wish it was. That's just fine.
Yeah.
He was good. This is what we need. Not have fees. Hey, Lisa, what happened to your new business?
When I read the word policy,
But I thought that was what I need to do. Well, yeah, I knew there was something. That's a great idea.
And that way it's done.
What's that? Do you want to take that back to the student? She wants to do an Eagle River ad hoc.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I don't know if it'll keep for a week.
Keep really well.
And then Star, maybe we can do an achievement gap. I mean,
Yeah, we need to start. That's one thing we're going to talk about. Maybe the retreat is looking at those goals and what we what are we going to do to make those goals completed?
yeah, all of them.
Yeah, we're not high achievers.
I was 2 numbers off. And Nora learned to read, you guys. Oh, cool. That's awesome. We discovered it the day after the quake. Good parents probably wouldn't consider her. Really good to read.
Back at the.
Yeah, be careful. I think the roads are good though, aren't they?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. Bye.
Hey, Lisa, thank you for goodies.
Yes, thank you. Whatever you get from me will store bought.
And Miss Katie, I will see you on Friday with news or information
Yes.
about my appointment from Thursday.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well, let me know too.
I'm on board.
Yeah, let me know if you need anything.
Well, I'll find out more on Thursday about what they want
Okay.
me from
Good.
stuff like that.
Good, good, good.
I'm kind of thinking I might try and
Transportation
show up
fits
here on
in.
it.
She might include,
How fast I get out.
but she can't go all the way one way or the other. I don't have a preconceived notion about how to set that stage. So I think
Yeah, we have some work to do there.
there's that, but I think it's even more sort of challenging for her to think about the multidimensional being in Juneau, about how she wants to set the transportation.
You should.
And I don't wanna presume how to cut that yet. I
Well,
just
we
don't
got
have
time to
enough-
think that
Right,
through.
I don't have enough information to be able to cut that. I think she's got a better sense of it, and so I'm happy to give her what I call a room. You know, there's the board sentiment is to quit cross-subsidizing, and then just see how far she wants to push. And then the next time we get together, to have a follow-up conversation, which could even be next Monday, if there's a finance committee.
He'll be here. No, the next finance committee meeting is third of
January?
January or fourth.
I have the same.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking first day back at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's December.
Yeah.
We could have a subsequent conversation where we could just narrow down where the board is at on the transportation.
Right.
And clearly, you know, Hildy's ready to run for half already. She's not even willing to say,
Right.
here's the policy. God damn it, no cross subsidy. I want teachers in classrooms. I don't want to let the state short sheet me on transportation. That's bullshit.
What I don't know is when we
And that's
sign up
easy.
and we tell the state we'll provide
I don't know if we can stop
transportation.
saying that.
Because we gotta sign that memo, right?
Yeah.
They say, are you gonna transport students? Basically, that's what the memo.
Yeah.
If you say yes, we'll give you transportation money. If you say no, then you don't get
Yeah,
anything.
and it
So we
says-
say yes, but it doesn't give you a yes box to click.
Right, the answer is yes, according to our policies.
Yeah, that's true.
Because each district does not have uniform policies around the state.
That's correct.
I like the Cut Bear Valley approach. That's good with you.
You get it. I mean, there's lots of ways to come at this.
Yeah.
And you've been handed the Cut Bear Valley card by a board member.
Right.
You notice I haven't been offered you any cards on how to do it. I'm just saying that policy.
Yeah.
Now, that was a good finance committee meeting today, I thought. We made some headway into what's really